director of the Sun. So right away, you cannot really, you got to take anything from this paper by a grain of salt. But also on the Caribbean Net News, that delegation did an interview with the Caribbean Net News on the same day that this supposedly signing in London took place. And they said that the project is estimated at $100 million on December the 20th. On December the 21st, the same minister who signed it, her newspaper come out that it's $125 million. So the people of this country, we are confused as to what we're going to pay for these hospitals, because we saw a deal in October of 2006 where we had the big celebration downtown by the site. And they said the deal was signed for $75 million. Then you have the minister who signed the deal telling the international media that it's $100 million, and then her paper comes out that they are demanding that the government comes clean with us. Let us know, what are we going to pay? How much it's going to cost the people of the Turks and Caicos Island from their pockets? We don't mind paying for a hospital, but we want to know that we are paying for a cause of a hospital for the people of the Turks and Caicos Island. We need to know that we are getting value for money, Finbar. The people want to know that they're not paying out of their salary for millions of dollars to go back into
Johnson's.
You know, so we have a serious problem with this. The government is not clear. Obviously, they don't know how much. I mean, maybe every time they turn around, they realize that somebody else ain't got enough money on the deal, so it's just increasing, and it's a serious issue here in the Turks and Caicos Island.
Sean, you're quite correct in regards to it being a serious issue, and also in regards to us having to know about this debt. Now, one thing, before they entered into this borrowing agreement, it had to be approved by the British government. I don't see nowhere, well, I haven't seen where it was such approved. I know that this government has gone widely against the borrowing guidelines that was set up by the PDM administration. I mean, which was good, solid borrowing guidelines, making sure you have so much
and
reserve before you enter into Thingham. Now, we are already 100-something million in debt, and we're getting growing, and we're getting into more debt. Put that on top of the state of our economy. You're quite right in what you said, because I have been approached by a number of people complaining of government failing to pay them, and not only for 1 or 2 months, but 3 months and some even more. And they said it's a result of not having sufficient funds. Now, we know that this current administration has a problem with budgeting, has a problem with finance. That was pointed out in the British government recent survey that they did on the risk analysis.
The audit report.
The audit report. One of them say this, one of the areas of risk identified: expenditure consistently and repeatedly incur in excess of annual budgets across the government departments without prior statutory approval. They have consistently bring on things, air projects without being properly planned for. And like they also identify, they rely heavily on surpluses from sales of land. We know that the sales of land are down. What government had projected for this current budget, So we are in a mess. We have a big budget. We're not going to have the funds to bring it. So the government's going to be in problems and meeting their recurrent budget, paying our salaries and so forth. Now, on top of this, we're going to add this $125 million. We as a people have to be concerned. How are we going to afford this?
Can we sustain it?
Well, our government has said that they're looking at tax. No more free lunch, so to speak. So now they're going to have to initiate, well, apart from the medical insurance, which is a tax, they're going to have to initiate some form of taxes to increase the government's income. And I think that, so we as a people going to be further burdened, even in this environment where we hardly can find jobs, and when we find jobs, we have to settle for which pay they give us because there's cheaper labor elsewhere. we're going to be saddled with additional taxation, all because of the government's blundering in regards to their economic spending. I mean, we're supposed to have a trained economist. We have a Minister of Finance who has experience. He's a
CPA.
Our financial matters ought to be run better than this. Unfortunately, I think that the main concern is ministers acquiring wealth, and we all have seen how they have become millionaires over
multi-millionaires
short period of time
on the backs of the people of this country. I mean, but Mr. Kran, I think the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands were taken aback in November when the British released their national audit report, and Turks and Caicos, we've got the worst grade in all 14 territories. And as you said, we have a Minister of Finance. How is it that we have managed in the Turks and Caicos Islands under a Minister of Finance with such experience? The country's finance is in such a mess.
We have squandered a great opportunity. We have just passed a great development boom. There was a lot of inward investment that was set up from PDM administration that started to come to fruition. So this government came in riding on great outlooks, but they have managed to squander it. Now things are beginning to turn the other way. It's going to be amazing to see how they're going to pull it off. And the only way they're going to tax us more heavily. And this is
we got taxed heavily 3 years ago.
It is going to be worse. I mean, our people are going to be put in a financial bind because if you look at the price of ordinary standard necessary goods, baby milk, flour, eggs. I mean, these stores are being ridiculous.
Orange juice.
You know, they are being ridiculous, and they're just increasing, and all we're doing is increasing. Even PPC, because of fuel and oil, everything is going up besides the salaries and besides I mean availabilities for job. And we getting more of that, and we're gonna have to be taxed for it. While the government is looking out for that, they're not looking out for how are we as a people are going to survive. You know, simple things like price control. They don't believe in those sort of things. You understand? So this free for all, the laissez-faire attitude in this country, financially looking after the financial well-being of its citizens, is definitely going to hurt us.
I'm sure that we in the Turks and Caicos Islands tonight, those of you who are watching this show, and for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching Let's Talk Politics with Sean Malcolm. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Finbar Grant, attorney at law, political giant here in this Turks and Caicos Islands, and I am proud to be sitting down with Mr. Grant tonight. Tonight, we're talking about the issue of the hospital deal that was signed a few weeks ago in London. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you just tuning in, we in the Turks and Caicos Islands, we are confused.